Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be talking about Israel's declining support amongst the American populace. And we know this is declining amongst young people and non-white people within the United States, but it seems to be declining overall too. And so while a majority of young people and a majority of non-white people are supportive of Palestine, we are seeing across the board that Israel is just not making a good case for this genocide of Gaza. I'm not sure if there is such a thing as a good case for the genocide of Gaza, but whatever Israel is doing right now is not helping it to be persuasive amongst the American populace, despite the fact that Zionists control American media and entertainment. They've just not been particularly successful in this specific effort. So this article on Reuters is called U.S. Public Support for Israel Drops. Majority backs a ceasefire, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll. So it says that Washington, the U.S. public support for Israel's war against Hamas militants in Gaza is eroding, and most Americans think Israel should call a ceasefire to a conflict that has ballooned into a humanitarian crisis, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll. Some 32% of respondents in the two-day opinion poll, which closed on Tuesday, said the U.S. should support Israel when asked what role the United States should take in the fight. Okay, so 32%, that's about a third of the American population, says to support Israel. That is down from 41% who said the U.S. should back Israel in a Reuters poll conducted on October 12th, 13th. So let me see. This was closed on Tuesday. Okay, so yeah, about a month difference, and they had a 9% decline in support for Israel. So that's a pretty steep decline in a month for support to go down for Israel that much. And that shows you that Israel is losing the media narrative since the October 7th attack by Hamas. So it goes on to say the share saying the U.S. should be a neutral mediator rose to 39% in a new poll from 27% a month earlier. Okay, so it went above 1/3, and it's now ahead of the prior support for Israel numbers. 4% of respondents in the poll said the U.S. should support Palestinians, and 15% said the U.S. shouldn't be involved at all, both similar readings to a month ago. Okay, so this is a little bit of a disappointment. Well, yeah, I would say this is disappointing. So it's likely the case that the people who believed in backing Israel did not just flip to supporting Palestine. They probably went to being a mediator or being uninvolved. But then I can't see them going to uninvolved to supporting Palestine, considering the Palestinian number stayed at 4%. So yeah, this is disappointing that only 4% support Palestine. I am one of those 4%. We would like to see those numbers increase, but even having a neutral United States would be of benefit to Palestine, because that means that fewer Palestinian babies would be genocided. Israel, okay, so going on with the article, Israel has long counted on the U.S. as its most powerful ally, which the Prime Minister of Israel has been caught on tape saying that the United States is controlled by Israel, but people are not allowed to say that aside from the Prime Minister of Israel because it's considered anti-Semitic if you say that. So Israel has long counted on the U.S., its most powerful ally, for billions of dollars a year in military aid and international diplomatic support. An erosion of U.S. public support could be a worrisome sign for the Middle Eastern country, which faces not only Hamas militants in Gaza, but the Hezbollah Islamist movement in Lebanon, and has conducted a long-running shadow war with Iran, with its regional arch foe. The drop in U.S. support seen in the new poll among both Democrats and Republicans, and especially among older respondents, follows weeks of heavy Israeli bombardment and ground combat against Hamas in Gaza in retaliation for October 7th rampage by the Islamist militants in southern Israel. About 1,200 people were killed and around 240 hostages taken. Okay, so seeing that this change occurred amongst both Democrats and Republicans is very interesting. It tells us that both sides are seeing the light. Democrats are traditionally more pro-Palestine than Republicans are. However, Republicans and conservatives do seem to be moving away from Israel as well, which is nice to see. We also see amongst older respondents that they are starting to trend away from Israel as well. I feel like older Americans just do not understand Israel. They think that contemporary Israel is equivalent to the historical Israel, the Bible, and it's not. The only thing they really have in common is the name. They stole the name just like they stole the land. And so I think older respondents are starting to recognize the satanic nature of Israel, and so they're starting to lean away from Israel as well, which is good to see. Okay, so this article goes on and says, since then, more than 11,000 Palestinians have been killed, around 40% of them children, in Israel's assault, according to accounts by health officials in Hamas-ruled Gaza. The Gaza crisis has sparked an international outcry that has focused in recent days on the collapsing medical infrastructure in the crowded coastal enclave. Palestinians trapped inside Gaza's biggest hospital were digging a mass grave on Tuesday to bury patients who died under Israeli encirclement. Yeah, you're seeing this constantly. I mean, one of the first times that Israel attacked a hospital, they're like, oh no, we didn't do it. It was misfired Hamas rockets. But all available evidence shows that's not true. Israel did it. But even if Israel didn't do it that one time, Israel has repeatedly, many times fired on hospitals since then. So I think they realize that a large segment, I would even go so far as to say the majority of the American public, doesn't care if they fire on churches, doesn't care if they fire on hospitals. They just support Israel no matter what. And so Israel recognizes now that they don't really have to pretend like they're not firing on hospitals, because a large segment of the American population will support them even if they fire on hospitals and even if they murder children. So yeah, it's wild that the world has gotten to this point that this type of thing is allowed, but this is where we're at right now. So going on with the article, some 68% of respondents said they agreed with the statement that Israel should call a ceasefire and try to negotiate. Okay, so more than 2/3. About 3/4 of Democrats and half of Republicans in the poll supported the idea of a ceasefire, putting them at odds with Democratic President Joe Biden, who has rebuffed calls from Arab leaders, including Palestinians, to pressure Israel into a ceasefire. Okay, so interesting thing here is President Biden refuses to talk about a ceasefire, but his party is actually even more in favor of a ceasefire than the opposition party. So 3/4 of Democrats are in favor of a ceasefire. So that means he's going against his own base. And that should tell you something. That should tell you about who really controls the president of the United States. Is it the population that supposedly votes for him, if we're assuming electoral fraud is not occurring? Is it that population? Because he's not listening to them whatsoever, even though 3/4 of Democrats support a ceasefire. He's listening to the Zionist billionaires who fund his campaigns and give money to him and his family members. The Biden administration instead has urged Israel to do everything possible to avoid civilian casualties, something Israel says it is doing, which we know is a lie. They've come out right and said that they consider the Palestinians to be Edomites, to be Amalek. They think that they should wipe them out, men, women, and children. We're seeing journalists, we're seeing politicians saying this publicly, that they should commit genocide. It's shocking to see the types of things that these people are willing to admit on camera. So the article goes on to say Israel has so far rejected any talks of implementing longer pauses or ceasefire, saying Hamas would only use that time to regroup and harden its position. In a potentially worrisome sign for Israel, just 31% of poll respondents said they supported sending Israel weapons. Okay, less than 1/3 again, while 43% opposed the idea, so more than 1/3. The rest said they were unsure. Support for sending Israel weapons was strongest among Republicans, while roughly half of Democrats were opposed. Okay, so the fact that about almost 1/3 are unsure is a good sign that we could continue to win the media narrative. The pro-Palestinians could win the narrative and win over these people, making it a clear majority that does not want to send Israel weapons. I think we're getting there. So the article goes on to say, by comparison, 41% of people answering the poll said they back sending weapons to Ukraine in its fight against a nearly 21-month-old Russian invasion, compared to 32% who were opposed and the rest unsure. So yeah, this is Americans not understanding when it is legitimate to engage in conflict, which Russia had a lot of legitimate reasons for engaging in that conflict. Not saying I agree. I think peace is always the correct answer. That's what the YouTube guidelines tell me to say. But if there were potentially legitimate reasons for engaging in conflict with another, Russia would have had some of those reasons. Okay. When it came to Ukraine, support for sending weapons was stronger among Democrats. So yeah, that's weird that they're willing to support sending weapons for Russia, but not for Israel. I don't really see the difference there. Okay, so while most moderate Democrats in Congress have long supported military assistance to Israel, some progressives in Biden's own party have started to question whether there should be greater scrutiny as well as conditions attached to such aid. U.S. officials have cautioned that funding for Ukraine military aid is running low as a Republican-controlled House and Democrat majority Senate remain at odds over the Biden administration's request for billions of dollars more in assistance to Kyiv. The Reuters Ipsos poll was conducted online and nationwide, gathering responses from over 1,000 U.S. adults. It has credibility interval, a margin of precision of about 4 percentage points. Okay, so could go either way, 4%. So yeah, that's an interesting poll. This was a few months ago at this point, but I think support would be even higher for Palestine and even more against Israel. Israel has come out with some really horrendous propaganda. The thing is, Israel is so used to the centralization of information where they control the entire media and entertainment apparatus that they're not used to having to have engaging propaganda that is persuasive, because they know that their propaganda is the only propaganda around. They don't allow other propaganda. They have laws in place. They control the 6 or so media companies that run within the United States. They brag about how they control Hollywood, so they control the entertainment industry. I mean, they're just not used to it. So they come out with these things like a calendar that has the names of the week in Arabic and say that these are actually the guards that they're going to have to murder of the Palestinians because they were holding Israelis hostage. Like, they literally thought people would believe that. They thought that this calendar that had Arabic names of the week, they thought people wouldn't translate it, or maybe they didn't even translate it themselves, and they just they just hate the language of Arabic. It's just so weird. Their propaganda is so lacking in any persuasive qualities that it's actually strange to see. But now we have a very decentralized media apparatus, very decentralized entertainment. And so people are picking apart this very shoddily put together propaganda from the Israelis. And so I think we're winning the media narrative in the long term. And so that means that there is a ticking time clock for the United States and Israel, because they're losing support every single day. Anyways, if you found this video to be helpful, informative, any of those things, please give us a thumbs up. It does help us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Rumble for more content. Share our videos with others. We are being suppressed by the algorithm, and we'd love to have more people engaging with our content, viewing our content. I'm sure it's very hard to find people that talk about the things that we talk about from the perspective that we're talking about. But if you found this to be interesting, have any questions, concerns, comments, please leave them in the comment box below. I respond to all of them, or I respond to any of them that seem to need responding. I do read all of them. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.